such a joy when I got to meet you at the Energy Healing Conference in October, right? It was October that we
It
met.
was October that we met.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I remember feeling like when I came to your class on how to address cortisol levels, I can't remember the exact name. I was like, if this was the only thing I ended up coming for, it was worth it. And I'm so
thank
grateful
you.
that we're able to be here because the little bit that I took away and applied from that little short time that we had together has made such an impact. And it has to do with light. And
I'm so glad.
given the fact that I'm somebody that in the past, it was about 13 years ago, but for many, many years, I struggled with seasonal affective disorder, known as SAD. And like you know now, I struggle a lot with, I came to you because one of my things that I was having an issue with was sleep. And you turned me on to some light tricks, shall we say. Do you want to give our audience a little bit of background about, where you came from and how you ended up
Sure.
with all this knowledge?
Yeah. I am. So, my professional career actually began as a nurse, and I worked as an ICU nurse, and I taught nursing. Um, I led a clinical nursing, ICU nursing is what I taught at Weber State University. Um, and probably 8 years ago, um, I really began to focus on light and knew that there was something going on. I was trying medication, it wasn't working, and I went to many specialists for my heart, which was failing, but my kidneys were also failing as a result. I think of my heart failing, and I had type 2 diabetes. I had Hashimoto's with my thyroid, and so I ended up going back to school to become a naturopath and to become a master herbalist and to become an iridologist. And that happened because I was so sick that figuring out the medical form was not working for me very well. I tried everything and it wasn't working. I really struggled to just do basic things. So I went back and now I'm just extremely excited to teach people about light. They don't know. I didn't know. Most people don't know that light drives everything. So without light, there's no life. And, that's just an amazing fact, right? That we sometimes have been made afraid of light
Mhm.
when we should actually be really versed in what light does and what darkness does as well for our bodies biologically, physiologically. So
Mhm.
it's exciting to be meeting with you today. Thank you for having me.
And it's just exciting to me to be able to have others have the opportunity to learn what they can do that is free, doesn't cost anything to
Exactly.
turn things around. I am like you. I worked in the hospital setting. I was a float pool nurse, left that many years ago because I felt like I could do a lot more good by addressing wellness. And
Yes.
ironically, I found myself in this situation. I didn't realize how much of my past, my early childhood had impacted my health to such a great degree
Yes.
that still playing out, and it's impacting me in my early 50s. Yet I live like most people that know me, they're like, I don't know anybody that lives a more, pure, mindful based lifestyle. So why do you have these things going on? And I know that we're not alone. There's other people out there
Hmm.
struggling in a similar fashion. And
Yes.
I do have so much joy in my life today that I didn't even know was possible. So I'm excited that we're going to shed some light, no pun intended,
That's right.
on this subject some more. So shall we start off talking about the role of light in sleep first or seasonal affective disorder? Which direction should we go first?
Well, um, I think that if we just we can start with, they both are interconnected. They are, they're interconnected, but maybe seasonal affective disorder first, which does impact sleep. And so I can tell you from experience, you've had it as well, but I really struggled. And when I say I really struggled, I mean like I very much struggled. Every winter, I was depressed, and it began when I was very young, 10 or 11 maybe. I remember going into winter and past the age where you're really excited to go out and play in the snow as a child. I was getting depressed every winter and struggling to get up and struggling to have energy. I was eating everybody's pie, getting angry at people during the winter, becoming really irritable, not understanding why do I need to eat all of this stuff and why am I angry at people? And it was like I would ruminate over things, and it was miserable. So going into the winter was just, I can't do this. And I ended up in the fall of 2023, October 9th, I was in my garden and I thought I need to move to Florida or figure this out because I am so tired of going into the winter and knowing I'm going to have the blues basically every winter. And so I'd been on antidepressants for 2 decades at least, and they never helped me with this problem. But I would just say that seasonal affective disorder, once I was out there in the garden and I had this impression that I needed to go out every morning for 100 days, 100 mornings, which I did, and I didn't understand much about light. But by that point, I had gotten off of all but one medication out of 14. I had started to just feel better every morning, slowly, slowly, slowly. So even though it became cold, I was determined to go out, and I began to research and found that actually light is the answer. It is the core problem around seasonal affective disorder. And we need light at certain times of the day. We need darkness at certain times of the day. And if we get it wrong, Ali, we're not going to feel good. We're not going to feel
I've
good.
discovered that, and I've actually found that I don't even want to I'm totally okay with the fact that my bedtime is early, and it doesn't mean participating in events that are going on in the evening, because I rather have the joy that I have during the day today now that I
Yeah.
get and I do some of the simple practices that you've taught me. And because I remember the days, especially in my 30s, I too have a past history of being on antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, and they didn't do anything for this time of year. I remember I had set up in a room a Nordic track and my bike on a trainer, and I had this wonky light box that I would try to strap so it would be at the right eye level so that I could be doing exercise while I'm looking into this light. And I really didn't feel like it did what going outdoors does
Right.
today.
Right.
Oh, can you talk about
Absolutely.
that? The difference between a light box versus the sunlight,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
rainy day or cloudy day or snowy day?
Yeah, we have. So, and you need the right kind of light box, by the way, in the morning. But I think let's begin with the morning light. When we go outside in the morning around sunrise, we have a 60 to 90-minute window where our body is going to be extremely sensitive to light, specifically sunlight, sunrise. And the reason it's so beneficial is because that time of day contains the highest percentage of infrared light. And infrared light is healing. It's invisible. So we don't ever see it, ever. It's not going to ever be seen. It's there on cloudy days. It's there on snowy days. It's there on rainy days. And we can't see it. So we figure, I don't know that I need to go outside. But that light is driving our hormone production. It really works on our hypothalamus inside the brain and is saying, okay, it's setting the circadian rhythm. It goes through the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglial cells and into the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is really it's like the conductor of our body. It's going to make sure that things run smoothly. And so when we go outside and we open our eyes to the brighter part of the sky, not the sun, but the brighter part of the sky for 10 to 15 seconds, and then we stay outside for 15 to 30 minutes during that time, we are energizing ourselves. So we have to think in light in terms of information. Light is responsible for putting information and directions into the body. So you think about light in the fact that every cell phone call, every Zoom call is
What we're doing right now.
is possible because of light. So light in and of itself is giving information to the body. And in the morning, it's setting the body, it's saying, okay, in 14, 16 hours from now, you're going to become tired. It's telling the body that. And the other amazing thing it does in the morning is it will stimulate the cells to produce on-site melatonin. And the reason that's important is because that melatonin is not the same type of melatonin that makes us tired. It's an antioxidant. It mops up the entirety of the cell, and we all have exhaustion in that cell. We all have the reactive oxygen species within a cell, and if that doesn't get cleaned up, we have inflammation. So you think about all of the mitochondrial-based dysfunction and disease like MS, Parkinson's, all of these things. But what happens as well is because, if we don't get that light, then our hormone system does not receive direction to produce serotonin, to produce dopamine, to produce all of these things
All those
that make us run, all the feel goods. So it's why we go outside, and outside has got about 150,000 lux worth of light versus inside, which has maybe 10 at the most, or 50. There's just such a small amount inside. So going outside, we really are receiving health to the body, and it penetrates through our clothing. Mm-hmm. It goes through bone, but it never goes through glass. So people will always frequently ask me, can I just be inside and feel it there? Do I have to go out in the cold? And the answer is, to get the greatest benefit, put on a coat and a scarf and a hat and go sit outside. It will give you energy. It will boost your immune system. It will put in place all of the hormone signaling that we rely on for health, that our body relies on. So
but no glasses, no goggles, right?
No glasses, no sunglasses, no, none of that, and we're not going to get sunburned. So people will say, what about cancer? It's so interesting. One little quick fact to point out is there's people that get melanoma. That is something that happens, but it's not as frequent as we want to think it is in terms of causing death. So yes, in some cases it does, but actually they found that people that are outside, even if they get melanoma, they live longer. They'll actually be treated and live longer than those who never get it and they're staying inside. And so it's incredible, really. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned not looking necessarily directly at the sun, but looking at where the sky is bright. And that makes me think of the fact that, when I go out and I'm heading east towards the sun or looking east towards the sun, we have mountains here where I live.
Yeah.
So I look at my phone, at my weather app to see what time is the sun rising, right? So
right.
that I know when I need to be outside, when it's ideal to get out, because I'm a 4 a.m.er. That's my typical wake up time. So I have to wait quite a while before the sun comes up. So as soon as it's up, I'm ready to go. And so I want that in my eyes. And I've wondered, okay, is gauging the sunrise, is that a safe way to judge? Is the weather app saying this is when the sun will rise? And even though you can't see the sun, but you see light coming up over the mountains, looking at that light is sufficient.
So yes, and people will say, I live in the shadow of the mountain, and I live in the shadow of the mountain too. But actually, we wait to be able to see that light, but even in the meantime, before you can see that bright light to even see a bright part of the sky, you are still bathed in infrared light, which is healing your body. And it's actually causing a spike in cortisol, the good kind. We want cortisol spiked in the morning. We want to boost it. We're not talking about the stress type of cortisol. We're talking about cortisol that mobilizes fuel, amino acids, fatty acids, and puts glucose into the bloodstream to give us that energy. So we get more energy because we have cortisol boosted at the right time. And that actual boost will make it easier to sleep at night. I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you did because, like I mentioned at the beginning of this show, is the fact that there are so many people struggling with sleep, and if they understood something simple some things that they can start doing and some things
Hmm.
they can stop doing, right? Like
Hmm.
artificial light at nighttime,
Right, 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 right,
that
right.
sort of thing. And I know that you have a lot of tips and tricks in that regard. Um, so yeah, do you want to
I
move to?
can tell you, I can tell you my tips and tricks.
Yeah, please
For
do.
some, okay, in the morning when you wake up, you want to have a specialized light lamp to just throw your lights on in the morning super bright. For some people, that's okay. But actually, for most of us, if we have a really at least a 10,000 lux light that has white light, because white light contains blue, green, yellow, and red wavelengths, and they're basically present in roughly balanced proportions. And so the eye is going to take in that full spectrum versus just a short spectrum of blue. That's not going to really hit that part of the brain that's going to set the circadian rhythm. It's not strong enough to fully do that, but it is strong enough to cause disruption. So we can get anxiety, depression, and all of that. I would say in the morning, in that 60 to 90-minute window, we really need to hydrate. So even drinking 24 ounces of pure water and taking in roughly maybe an eighth of a teaspoon of Celtic salt or pink salt, just to help that water get into the cells of the body. Doing that, and then also making sure that we have exercise going on. That's when we want to vigorously exercise. We don't want to exercise at night. It's not a good idea. If we want to sleep well, maybe some people they can pull it off. I've met some who can, but for the majority, it's going to boost cortisol at the wrong time. So in the morning, you stick with the exercise, really hydrate. Your body responds to that hydration. And cold therapy, if you're up for that, get in the shower and for 30 seconds, turn on the cold water. And that will actually help balance that cortisol as well if we're exercising. And I've got a few other funny little tricks, but one of the things that's so random is black licorice. If you eat it in the morning, it will stimulate cortisol. And so eating it at night is not a good idea, but eating grapefruit in the morning is a great idea. It will also boost that. Moving, our body needs to move. It's made to move. So even if we're doing something gentle like Tai Chi, getting those energy centers expanded, allowing that excess energy to be released through the body, that's really important. Um, Going into, let's just go fast forward to the afternoon. In the afternoon, we don't want to be, I would say, after 3 exercising. That could very, very, very much mess up our sleep.
Yeah, I tested it out yesterday. I know
And it didn't work.
it works very well.
And we think, oh, that's great. That's great. You
Oh.
know, it's crazy, right? Or you think, wait a minute, I think you can take a gentle walk. You can sway back and forth just gently, standing by your bed before bed if you feel like, oh, really worked up and I got to get this out. I think one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of people I see is if you meditate in the morning, you seem to be able to sleep better that night. And so meditation in the morning can be really helpful if it's consistently done as well. But avoiding those
Yeah.
artificial lighting is going to stimulate cortisol. And that cortisol can't exist really high and have melatonin be high. They have an inverse relationship. So when one is high, the other is low, and vice versa, right? We have to make sure we're not boosting cortisol. So getting like red light bulbs to put in those lamps
Mhm.
and trying to, we need darkness to sleep. We need full darkness. So getting the technology just as much as we can, reducing it at night. We live in a world that makes that very hard. but my house starts to go dark. I try to turn things beginning really at 6,
Mhm.
6:30, 7, and I've got young adults that live with me, so they're doing things, but they're kind of used to the fact that we start to tune down, and we're not going to have a party at 11, right? We're not going to be at 9 just full lights on. Usually it's going to be that we're tuning things down and getting ready for the nighttime, and being in darkness is actually a signal. So I
Mhm.
think it's interesting just to note that darkness is, we perceive it as darkness, but in darkness there is a lot going on, right? There is still light. It's not visible to us, but I think that light that we don't see can be doing things to help our bodies to be supported in our sleep.
Mhm.
So darkness is not the enemy at night. It's actually going to really help. So cover your blinds and buy red light bulbs for your lamps. Don't turn on overhead artificial lighting. I think that and technology is our biggest problem. It's our biggest obstacle, from what I can tell, to really having cortisol go down when it should go down. And if we're constantly on technology at night, and people are saying, I'm so stressed. It's like, well, yes, there's stressful events in the world, but your body is stressed because it doesn't know, is it doing cortisol or melatonin, vice versa? It causes exhaustion. So if someone's feeling exhausted, it's making it harder for you to process stress during the day. Your body isn't balanced enough. And light always is very impactful for the nervous system. So having it at the wrong times is going to make you have anxiety. It's going to really increase that depression a lot as well.
I wish I knew all of this 30, 40 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of a lot of bad days, shall we say,
Right.
right?
Where you're saying,
Yeah.
I just don't feel good. Light has such power when we're outside. You know, I had type 2 diabetes. I was on insulin, metformin. I had
I
found,
know what that does to you.
yeah, yeah,
Right? That's a whole nother
that's
conversation.
a whole nother
That's how
conversation.
people
But
get off of it, right?
yeah,
Technique.
exactly. But that 100 days of going out every morning, you
Mhm.
can imagine there was a lot of snowy days in there, a lot actually. And so,
We live.
yeah, where we live, there's a lot of snowy days. And I thought, is this even doing anything? But I started to feel better and better. I had found some supplements that really helped my blood sugar, so I had been able to get off of insulin and metformin. But and metformin I really struggled to tolerate. But I had the amazing thing happen where my blood sugar returned to normal, and I had a normal A1C of 5.1 after 100 days. It
Yeah.
was incredible. My thyroid was within normal ranges. I felt better. My hair started to thicken, and my reproductive hormones started to really balance themselves a lot. It was amazing. It's pretty amazing. Just that morning light
Yeah.
will,
We're
we
talking
know,
about.
yeah. Our immune system, you don't get sick if you're going outside because your immune system is so boosted by light. It's just very much boosted by light. It's awesome.
So you mentioned getting up and exercising within the first 60 or 90 minutes. So
Right.
even if it's not light for somebody like me, it's nearly 4 hours before it's light out. I should be getting out and exercising then
Yeah.
right within that first 90 minutes. And then
Mhm.
the sun rises at 7:40, for
Mhm.
example, like today, going
Yeah.
and meditating, looking at the sun for about 15 minutes.
Right.
That's what
That's
I'm.
right. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
somebody that's opposite me and they like to sleep? They have a hard time getting up. What would you say for that person?
You know, for that person, I was that person. My family can attest to that. I was that person. So I would say this is where you need some kind of accountability to get yourself up. Even if you're just painstakingly dragging yourself out of bed, you want to really make sure that you get either white light in the morning if you say, I'm not able to go outside, or you go outside for, I would say, 7 days. And so when I challenge people and I'll say, if you can get outside for 7 days, this is going to be huge. It will flip your sleep schedule, which is really what you need to function as like the healthiest human you can be, right? And so if someone is really struggling, you add really sunset in there. We haven't talked about that yet, but sunset has the sun's rays will break through the atmosphere and scatter red light. Okay. And so that red light, again, it's giving information to the body. That red light is saying you're going to sleep within 2 to 5 hours from now. And that, so light twice a day for 7 days, someone goes, it's working to reverse that, and it becomes easier and easier and easier to get up at an earlier time. And but it takes being outside at least 30 minutes, and it takes looking at the brighter part of the sky for 10 to 15 seconds, and then being outside at sunset for 15 minutes. Take in the red light. And sometimes, I just stand outside of my porch at sunset and take in red light. You will always sleep better if you take in sunset, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I did take, I accepted your 7-day challenge after that class that I came to. And sure enough, I was having problems with waking around 1:32 a.m. in the morning and laying there feeling like I'm wide awake, but I have no business being up at this time because I know by 6, 7, or 8 a.m. I'll be ready to go down for a good 2-hour nap. And I started to do the gazing at the sun, where the bright sky, and sure enough, if I do wake to get up to go to the bathroom, I'm able to go right back to sleep afterwards.
Right.
Something so simple that now I schedule my day around it. As you know, I got invited to go to a networking meeting this past week, and it started at 7:30, and I'm like texting you, what should I do? I didn't even have a cruddy night's sleep just because I went to a networking meeting.
Right.
I just, I got to the parking lot early, and I made use of the light that was coming up, even though it wasn't 7:40, it was 7:20. There's still light there, even though sunrise isn't official. And I ended up having a great night's sleep on
That's
Wednesday
fantastic.
night. So
it's amazing. Yeah.
A little fudge factor in there. I want to know if they're ever like me, a little OCD and trying to
right.
around this simple truth.
The simple truth. And we have, in my opinion, really been we've been made to feel afraid of light. And it's not great to just be out there for hours and hours in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer with no, sunscreen. We don't need to do that. We can do things safely, but morning light and sunset are such crucial things. And frankly, people have had that. They got up to work on a farm. They got up early to milk cows. They were up early, and then they were outside at night taking care of animals, doing what needed to be done. And those people went in, and you can imagine 150 years ago, people had a fire and they had light, from candles. But this is, I'm sure that there were far fewer people struggling with sleep then than there are now, for sure. Yeah, it's amazing.
And today is the 13th of December. So like, what better gift can you give yourself and your family but a little natural sunlight?
Absolutely.
Holiday season, it could really turn things 360 for people.
It really can. And if you give it 14 days of doing both sunrise and sunset, you will be amazed at just the difference that it makes, and the anxiety. I had PTSD that was so severe. I lived in domestic violence. I had PTSD and had significant other problems. And the light is meant to soothe us in the morning. It's meant to soothe us. It's meant to energize us. So you think of what is the ideal state, and it would be that we would be calm, that we would be energized, those two things. If we that we can calmly pay attention with energy to what needs to be done. And that is something I went without for 2 decades. So being able to focus and being able to think through problems in a calm way but have energy, it healed my heart significantly as well. And I think that's the other thing that people underestimate is when you go out there, it's going to balance your body systems. It's going to do a lot for you besides sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Suzanne, as we come to the end of our time together, what are ways people can get in touch with you? And what programs maybe do you have going on that they could jump into? I know that I've signed up for an 8-week cortisol coaching program that I'm going to be starting with you in January, but maybe
Yeah.
you have some things you want to share with this audience that I don't even know.
So, yeah. So this is just a tiny taste of really what I know and what I do to help people. So right now, I'm typically having my 8-week course be $1,000, over $1,000. And so right now I have it at $795 for the 8-week. And we go in depth to really get into the details of what's going on with your cortisol levels. And by testing glucose and cortisol, we can pinpoint exactly what you need help with. And so because I'm a master herbalist and a naturopath, we can, give supplementation or herbs when needed. But right now, I would say the best way is to email me at hello@suzannebates.com. So that's SUZANNEBATES. Email me, and I would love to help anyone who is in need of help.
Wonderful. I look forward to that program, and I look forward to also hearing from our audience what else that they would like us to talk about maybe in the near future.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Any last words?
I just want to say it's super fast. Maybe we can get into this at another time, but light really is, as well as a physically healing thing, it's a spiritually healing thing as well. And so that's a huge part. And maybe next time we can go into that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And then, of
Thank
course,
you for
my
having me.
passion with regards
Yes,
to photobiomodulation, the use of
absolutely.
I
Yes,
forward to. So we'll have links to access to get in touch with both of us in the description field, and we'll go from here. I look forward to
sounds great.
time together.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Ali.
Yes, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.